with SYLBOURNE, and you ready for me? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the late one with SYLBOURNE. And today I'm at the Jamaica High Commission, whereby we got a very powerful topic, and the topic is an urgent question or questions to the High Commissioner. And the topic keyly is on the whole issue about deportation. You may have seen the news. A plane is supposed to go to Jamaica with around 50 persons, I believe it's tomorrow. And as well, there have been some sort of rumblings in the community on other matters, which we're going to talk about later. But for now, I want to make sure that the High Commission, the Honourable His Excellency SETH George RAMOCAN, given an opportunity for him to actually speak and to share with us. Hi, sir, High Commissioner.
Hi, SYLBOURNE.
Good, good.
Good, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for this quick turnaround in having this conversation.
Yes.
And the Prime Minister in the House of Parliament, Westminster, sometimes they call Parliament because they've got urgent questions for the Prime Minister.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt today it's important to have an urgent question to you, the High Commissioner,
Sure.
because of poignant things which are happening in the community.
Yes.
As you're aware of the demonstration yesterday, yes, as you're aware of the deportation. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, regarding this deportation which is happening, what's your take on it? I want you to talk. Right.
This is an extremely important
Yes.
topic, and I'm glad we're speaking about it, because it affects people's lives. You know, it creates dislocations.
Yes.
It really is very upsetting for people who have settled down in, you know, the country, and then to know that deportation is going to occur.
Yes.
But, you know, if we're going to be really balanced and honest, we have to speak about it truthfully.
Yes.
The fact is that deportation is a reality,
Yes,
of life. Every country deports people who it thinks or feels are not legally residing in the country. Jamaica does.
Yes.
Just recently, 2 persons
Yes.
were deported back to Britain. These are things that do happen. What is very important is to determine whether human rights are being violated. The work of the Jamaica High Commission is one in which we do not decide on deportation, who is to be deported and so on.
Indeed.
That is something for the British government, because that's a sovereign country. But what we are interested in is whether the law is being complied with,
Yes.
and whether there are any violations of the person's rights.
Yes.
Now, we don't go out there, you know, talking to people in the public, you know, while we are talking to the authorities here, because in the world of diplomacy, what you have to do is to seek to negotiate. You seek to get the best results,
Yes,
from the individual.
yes.
There are advocacy groups which have an advocacy role to play. That is to go out and probably to try to get popular support and so on. Diplomacy does not come that way. It comes because we are going to pursue what is true, what is right to do.
Indeed.
So in this particular case, the Jamaica High Commission, whenever it is presented with the names of persons who are going to be deported,
Yes.
we want to know why. What we would do is to probably visit whether it is the detention centers or wherever, you know, if these persons are available to speak with. And where we see that there are cases or circumstances where the persons can make an appeal, we encourage them to do so.
Indeed.
Because, you know, the idea of them just being deported when there's a possibility of them remaining in the country, that's part of what we do. But you find that after so many efforts are made,
Yes.
then it comes down to a point as to whether there are any other options. And that is where we are locked in. Now, it is by way of international law. We cannot say to the country that is wants to deport someone that no, you have to keep this person here.
Yes.
But what we can do is to make the necessary the appeals that we can do in order to help the situation.
Now, one of the questions that are concerns that people have within the community, and while I was looking at my phone, is because I was looking at some of the comments from different persons in regards to the flight which is to take place soon. And I believe and I understand that a couple of persons have been taken off the flight. They have to view that the High Commission, the Jamaican government and the British government is working in harmony in achieving this, whereby it seems as if the government or the High Commission is not standing up and representing the people of the community in the UK, in the diaspora.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
The last time there was a chartered flight into Jamaica with the persons being deported was in March 2017. That's 2 years ago. Most times you find like deportations of or nationals out of the US, out of Canada. Those are flights that take place monthly.
Yes.
And or every other month. You're talking about 2 year span.
Yes.
Now, what really causes that? When that flight was to take place in 2017, it started with 100 persons were to be deported. We weren't out there making a lot of noise. What we were doing was working to see whether there are persons who are earmarked for deportation that have some right of appeal. We worked with individuals. Ultimately, 30 persons went on the flight. Now, we would have wanted...
That's from 100.
You would have wanted someone to say, wow, so 70 persons are not going.
Yes.
But no, what you get is 30 persons are going,
Yeah.
And it looks as though, well, what is the High Commission doing? That sort of a thing. When indeed, the work is done in order to try to minimize the number of persons. Now, what happened over the past 2 years is that, there has been an accumulation. A number of the persons who are earmarked for the flight are persons who have been through the court process, imprisoned. There are the list of persons. It shows you that there are major violations, many of them. Of this particular group. So what happens is our hands are tied, locked in. We just cannot have any room there. Where we have a room, we now approach the authorities. For example, we have been advocating very, very hard to the authorities that Twain Morgan, who served in the army, who was a sound person before going into the army. Then he was in Afghanistan twice.
Yes.
And it turns out that there was, because of the trauma of, fights and so on, he himself was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay? He got into some situation with the law because apparently there was some fight or conflict and someone was hurt. So he was locked up for that period of time. The question is, and this is where I try to make appeal to the authorities, is to what extent do you think that a young man who has been through that kind of a situation and now has run into a problem, what do you do for him? Do you take him up and simply ship him out? Or do you say that, this was someone who was working in the British Army and ran into some problems, and in fact the person was not mentally stable. He was suffering from stress. Do you try and help that person to recover? Do you, rather than deporting? And that is, for example, a case that I have a serious, well, personally, objection.
So therefore, what?
And so for that reason, we have been dialoguing on that, and I'm hoping that the steps will be taken to make sure that he doesn't, he's not on this flight. And there are other persons like that, and we have been in this kind of a dialogue. But what happens is, the public doesn't see the work that we are doing.
That's the point.
We cannot be the ones out there, doing the demonstrations and so on. We have to be working to do what the work of the High Commission is about.
That's a very good point, because the former High Commissioner, I did interview Aluna Samba, and there was that discussion whereby it is talked a lot about there's lots of work is doing in the background, whereby it is not publicly known. You're not actually giving a blow-by-blow commentary on these different things. Now, the community, and it's good that you're talking this and that people can, because we'll be sharing this as often, that people can understand that even though it deems to be like you're silent, but actually in the background you're doing work. And that's one of the reasons why I said today that instead of jumping on a bandwagon, I wanted to get a different side of the story. And ask you a question on this, because that is one of the perceptions have. And people are saying, hang on a second, Mr. High Commissioner, the Windrush just came off recently where, I mean, it is like something, it's like they're slapping us in our face. They're saying,
Yes, and what we would have wanted, for example, it would have been great if the Windrush, the period, particularly the area of the compensation
has been
plan
sorted,
and all this kind of thing, that this would have been addressed before making a move like this. So that is one of the points that we raised with the authorities. But the other point is that many of the persons, in fact 90% of the persons, these are persons who were earmarked for deportation 2-3 times before. So we have actually, done work where the first time you were going to deport the person, it was held back.
Indeed.
Okay, the second time, it was held back. Okay, because you're making these kinds of negotiations and appeal. The third time, you just don't have any space now because it has gone too far. So the point is that, these are not persons who, for example, this is a first attempt.
Yes. It
is several attempts that have been made, and we have worked. So what needs to be looked at is to say, look, it's been, there are some persons who were on the deportation list for 10 years, as long as periods as that. And that deportation did not take place because of this sort of interventions and that kind of a work.
Indeed.
So when the time comes and it finally happens, there should be some kind of understanding. There should be some kind of, appreciation for the work that is done. But that is not the case. I've not heard anyone talking about the fact, boy, it's 2 years now and not one deportation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact is that that's a long period of time. In fact, I don't know if there's ever been such a long time before.
Yes.
Do you go there and blow your trumpet and say, look at this? No, we don't do that.
Yes. Because
what we would prefer is if there wasn't a single person to be deported.
Yes.
But the reality is that persons will be deported when they are afoul of the law of the country, when there is no sort of right to reside.
Yes.
I believe that there are grounds for compassionate decisions. I believe that law is important, and we are, first of all, believe in the rule of law.
Yes.
Jamaica believes in the rule of law. In our country, wherever we find that there is something that is to be done and the law is to be effected, we stand with the law. However, we also believe that there are very unique cases where the law might require a particular decision.
Yes.
But the circumstances or the compassion And that is that is a kind of spirit in which we try to deal with the authorities in order to get them to, to stay on certain persons. But you're not going to get everyone to stay.
So you're talking about discretionary grounds, these compassionate grounds that they should apply.
This is really where it's at. Now there are some points where you can't even ask a person for any discretionary ground. It's too blatant.
It's too blatant.
It's too clear. So you don't bother with that case. But there are cases.
Is it that different law firms or lawyers are not, someone was saying, building the case for persons who are in this sort of predicament?
Well, these are cases that have gone through the courts.
Yes.
These are cases that lawyers have been involved in. These are cases where individuals were probably sentenced. Particularly this, this flight is a very, very difficult flight, and it's probably the most difficult aspect of the work of the High Commission. Because you're dealing with that reality, and you know that this is about the law and so on. But also you're talking about family. You're talking about children. You're talking about a lot of dislocations that are taking place in people's life. So I can understand and I can identify with and feel with what people are going through. I mean, I'm a father of children. I understand what it is to have a family. I know what it is when even a member of the family is ill, much less you're going to have separation. This is painful.
Because one of the key things, as you know, in the UK, we got the issue with boys or fathers, fatherless. And I think one of the gentlemen, I think they said that he can actually father his children via Skype or something of that nature.
Right.
And when you look at it, and of course, the authorities here, they have their job to do. But when you look at it in a certain way, you say, hang on a second. Okay, you deport this father or this gentleman, and then you have 4 fatherless children. Without that father. So therefore, it is like the case needs to be built.
It is a very difficult case. And it is something that, where there is a possibility, where there is room for making a case, we make as strong as possible a case. But there are so many circumstances, and people know this in their own lives. I mean, in a home, there are parents who, after a while, they will take a decision against a child that they painfully would not want to take. But after doing and trying and so on, and that is really what happens. After a while, when you're working and you're trying and you reach to a dead end, it is out of your hand because it's now in the hands of the authorities. And of course, it's a country with its own sovereign right, its own laws and so on, so they make their decision as to who is eligible and who is not. Therefore, what we have to always contend with is this a violation of human rights? Is it that, and what do you mean by that? What you mean is that the person has every right to be in the country, and they are being denied that right. And if that is the case, then it is a matter which has to be dealt with, even with international courts. But where it is a case that it is law, we cannot, as a country, be in one case running, be governing a country and standing with laws, and then come into another country where laws are being implemented and to seemingly be violating those laws. It doesn't work that way.
Or supporting the violation of the law.
So there is a balance. There is a balance where we can fight for a compassionate situation or where we can fight for a legal situation. That is perfect. Now, what we would have liked is that persons who know that for years they're on a deportation list and so on, to take as many steps as possible to get their situation. Don't wait until it is time for deportation. Because during a short span of time like that, if you were not doing anything for the past 6 years, 5 years, whatever period of time, why do you think that everything can be done within the shortest possible time? It makes it very difficult. And we would want to know if there are persons who really have a case that, this is where I would have loved to know about it and to see in what ways. We have brought together a battery of lawyers who have met with individuals who have had their cases, and to be able to advise them or to represent them,
guide them,
in order to help them. And a lot of persons who would have been normally would have been deported have not been because of that approach.
So therefore, what is important is that at the end of this discussion, we should encourage persons to really tap into the High Commission and to understand some of the ways how they can be helped, than to wait until the last minute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where there is a possibility, we want to know.
Yes.
And if we can get, we have what we it's a kind of a surgery.
Yes.
We're a battery of lawyers.
Yes.
We've had several times here at the High Commission.
Yes.
We've had it in other communities.
Yes.
Would sit and listen to the case. Now, some folks have a sort of a fear that, no, maybe if I go and I start talking to them, this is some kind of a
catch. They're going to trap
police
them.
and so on.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. We're not into games here at the Jamaica High Commission. We have a high regard for our nationals.
Yes.
We want the very best for our nationals.
And
where there is an opportunity or a possibility for a decision that would have been taken for that person to be deported, and it can be stayed, we want to work with that person.
And that's very important what you said right there, because as I said, the community or people, not everybody is believing that the High Commission is not representation of them or not representing them very well. And that brings me now to one of the key things which happened yesterday. As you know, fellow Jamaicans and persons who are very passionate about what is happening, they had a demonstration outside. And what is going around now on social media, and it's the reason why I said I wanted to come down and to have a discussion, is that the High Commission called the police on the Jamaicans.
It burns my heart.
Yes.
I feel so sad when I hear that statement. If you know the truth of what happened.
Yes, sir.
And I hope that you have a lot of people who are listening.
Yes, and it will be shared more and more as well.
Because, we so welcome our people, Jamaicans on a whole.
Yes.
We stand against injustice at home and abroad. That is why we have national heroes who are noted for that kind of a thing. That's why you had a Marcus Garvey who left Jamaican shores and come out and stand up to fight for people. We are that kind of a people. I am that kind of a person. So when individuals want to demonstrate and so on, it is a welcome thing.
Yes.
It is something. So the folks came and they were demonstrating, through the day. In fact, they had from 12 to 2 and they went up until 4, and that was fine. There was no problem there. There were even persons out there who wanted to use the toilet.
Yes.
Okay? And they came and asked whether they could. Normally, it's a very unusual thing.
Yeah.
You would never go anywhere and you're demonstrating on the outside of the building and people would allow you to use the toilet in the facilities. But these are our people. So we went ahead and we allowed all that kind of a thing. I do not know, because it seems that because some persons were coming in, others were now working themselves up the stairs, kind of, working themselves to the door, came in. These are not persons now coming in for a toilet. These are persons who came, found themselves right in the reception area, and began to abuse the receptionist, calling her names. This is a young girl. She's there. She's just doing her work. And she apparently, felt very overwhelmed about what was happening. And she touched the panic button. The panic button is one that will cause the police to come. Now, the folks on the outside don't know what is going on the inside. The panic button was touched on the inside because of an incident that was taking place on the inside. What the police should have done is to come to find out why was this button pressed? I understand that the police stopped out there to say that
A panic button.
a panic button was pressed. These people are rightfully doing what they have every right to do in a free
Yes,
society,
yes.
and that is to demonstrate.
Yes, yes, yes.
So those people there was no problem at all on the outside.
Yeah. Because
It was on the
yeah.
inside, and therefore, when they came up, the folks on the outside seeing the police, and someone probably talking to the police out there,
Yeah.
saying that we call the police on the folks who were demonstrating.
Right.
Let me tell you something. It really pains me when I heard that. What turned out to be a compassionate
Yes.
response to persons who would have liked to use a toilet. Why would we have offered the facilities
In the first place.
for that in the first place if we were against the persons?
Yes.
The truth is what will stand.
Yes.
And what needs to be done is for individuals to understand exactly what happened.
Yes.
Why would a button be triggered on the inside? It's because there was a problem on the inside of the building.
Yes.
And this is what most persons are
Yeah.
unaware of. So this thing is moving around. Oh, the High Commission called police on. Oh, please.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you.
Oh yes. Because
Let me tell you something.
Yes. Yes.
I am not only High Commissioner, I'm a pastor. I stand up for people, not only, in a sort of social way,
Yes.
but in a spiritual way.
Yes.
I'm very, very disappointed that anyone could ever think
Yeah.
that you come to the Jamaican
yeah.
High Commission. There have been demonstrations outside here before on
Yes.
different occasions.
Yes.
Nothing like this.
Well, it's good that you're saying this, and it's good that we did it today. I mean, as
Yes.
soon as possible, because we're living in this world of social media where things just move around very quickly.
Yes.
And it's very important that your voice makes it very clear, because persons are of this view, this disposition that, and I was looking at one of the message which I got, because it is going around. Jamaica High Commission called police upon the people them, called them a demonstrate to stop the deportation.
What a sad statement.
And so
what a sad statement. And
Yes.
we're doing it to each other.
Yes.
Because it is saying that we were calling, and then that statement goes out there and is building a bad name for both the public, meaning
Yes.
our nationals,
Yes.
and for the High Commission.
Yes.
In other words, we are our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And that ought not to be done. What needs
Yes.
to be done is for just what is truthful and what is just what the real facts are.
Yeah. It seems, though, that the perception is real at the same
Yes,
time.
yes.
And the question is, and when people will be asking is, what is the High Commission going to do, in a sense, to sort of make some amends? Or is there some sort of discussion, some sort of meeting to really engage with the community on this particular topic of the deportation?
But even before,
Yeah.
whenever we have public meetings and so on, one of the topics that is, is talked about in our community meetings, things like deportation.
Yes, yes.
Things like, making sure you regularize your stay and
Status,
so on.
yes.
But not all deportation is because of violation of immigration. It goes beyond where there are violations such as a crime or something of that sort. And that creates a big problem, because it is now a combination of both your status and the idea.
Yes.
For example, there's another person who we have been pushing hard for, and that is Mr. Hinsley, right, who was also supposed to be
Deported.
on the flight. And we pushed hard. He came here at the age of 4. He has been here 41 years.
That's the DJ, the one that plays the music.
Hinsley.
Yeah. Yes.
And he got into some problem. Now, according to the law, if you were here prior to 73, you are considered a citizen, and therefore that deportation cannot take place. If you were after 73, even up to 83, there is a status you have of residence, but it's conditional.
Yes.
And once there is a violation, then you have lost the right of residence. And he happens to fall in that middle ground, middle ground there. And we thought that, you know, there's a violation, whatever, but there could be some kind of a compassionate ground here to talk with. That is where we see room. That is where we work. That is where we try to negotiate with the authorities. That's where we try to say, you know, 41 years, family. Who do you know in Jamaica? You know, there must be some way we can talk about this and get something to be done. The last word is with the authorities here. But certainly, we are not fearful of trying, and we do make efforts and so on. So I'm hoping that you know, there have been those persons that we've been advocating for will not be on this flight. We do not have that last word, but at least we have done our work. And we stand with the persons who we try to you know, give
make representation
for. There are others we can do nothing at all. Zero, because it has gone to such an extreme extent. And what we have to do, we have to be a fair-minded people. You know, because to be frank with you, if there are some folks who say that under no circumstances deportation is to take place. Well, Jamaica doesn't think so, because we deport people too. Okay? And we have a lot of people who come in our border, you know, where there's compassion, I think. Of course, we are compassionate people in Jamaica. But where there are major violations, the government of Jamaica takes decisions as well.
So therefore the law has to take its course.
The law has to take its course, and we are not against upholding law. What we are against are human violations. And where there are human violations, we are fighters. We will stand up in order to ensure that the rights of individuals are respected. And that's our
well, can I ask just one thing before we wrap up? Is based on your experience and the representation, which you have seen the areas where people fall short and the loopholes. Of course, there are those who are sort of past that, really. Which I think one of the best recommendation for them is to walk straight and don't do illegal.
Absolutely. This is it. You know, I mean, this is an obvious recommendation, but you don't want to run afoul of the law in the country. That's one.
Your host country.
Two is the host country. The second thing is that you want to encourage individuals to take the steps to regularize their status in the country, because these are basic things that are required. And once there's a violation there, you know, it weakens the case for the individual. So that's really what it is. I mean, look, I'm a servant. You know, it doesn't matter what hour is it now. We're still in the office, eh?
And
it is now what, after 9?
After 10. I'm just looking at the time now, looking at some questions.
And these are the kind of hours that we're working. But people don't know this, and we don't want to go out there and you know, complain to anyone. We just believe that we're obligated.
And I want to say this with all fairness, is that, and for people to listen in on it, is because I called you in the afternoon, late in the evening here, and said, can we meet? Can we have a discussion? We're going to do Facebook Live on the phone to phone, because you said you really want to get this information out to the Jamaican community. And I felt that as a platform is to do this. So I said, my team and we come down here to meet you, and you accommodated us at 8:30 to really come down here, which is really commendable. So I believe one of the strong messages we are getting here, High Commission, is that the communication and the medium of getting information to the people, we will need to, well, I'm going to be hope to be a part of the process to step it up,
Of course.
So people can really feel connected.
We want to do that. Let me tell you, let me give
Yeah.
you an example. I understand the number of persons say, you know, we didn't come out there
Yes.
to
yes.
talk. Look, what would you say to people? You're going to try to tell them to quiet down and so on? No. People are making their point. They need to be able to make their point.
Yes. Yes.
Right? I support people who, if they feel that there is some sense of injustice, whether real or perceived, but that's their conviction, they need to have the right to protest.
Yes.
You don't go there and try to, you know, to throw any cold water on what they're doing. But there were individuals who would have liked to talk to us.
Yes.
And what we did, we set up appointments. Mr. Patterson and a whole team of persons who said to us, you know, they would like to come in and talk to us. There is an appointment that has been set up and they're coming in to talk to us.
Yes.
That we can be able to have the dialogue.
Yes.
But you don't go out there while everybody is in the mode of protest and so on, and you're going to be going out there and talking, and then you have individuals maybe shouting and so on. That's not the order.
Yes.
You know, we have respect for the fact that people want to have their demonstration. They want to be free.
Yes.
They don't want to be interfered with. They don't want anyone to come there to stop them. They have up to a certain amount of time. Give the people their time.
And that's very important. And good for that. Good. Now, one point which I want to wrap up with is a Windrush. And the linkage with this and the Windrush and the compensation. That's a question someone asked, and I want to wrap up with that. What's the latest on the compensation and the Windrush?
Look, the latest that we have got, in fact, even today,
Yes.
I was at a meeting with the Windrush team. Of course, today's meeting was with the lessons learned group,
Yeah.
but there is also the compensation group.
Yes.
We have hosted public seminars, okay, where we ask the individuals, Mr. Ford, who is the person who heads
Yes.
that up, and others,
Yes.
to come and speak to the people to say exactly where it's at and what to expect. At this moment, what we understand is that the sort of finalization of Mr. Ford's recommendation
Yes.
to the authorities that's the point which it is, and that the authorities will take the decision as to whether they will take the recommendations